Good afternoon. Today we're here with John Hoffman with GSMA. Hi, John.
Hi, great to see you again. So last time we talked, we were virtual.
We were.
Now in person is better, isn't it?
It's so much better. I've had a great meeting so far. I've had some really good conversations with exhibitors and attendees, and gone through the testing process
Right.
and seen how everything is working. So it seems pretty smooth so far.
It's been very smooth so far. The COVID era is challenging us all, both on the health front, obviously, a medical crisis of almost unheard of proportions. But I also think it challenges us on the personal and also the professional side. So obviously the personal side is dealing with all of the issues of distance, separation, and then the ramifications of that. But we're not here to talk about that. We want to help. I mean, when we talked the first time, I think we did mention what would life have been like without the ability to communicate, to keep in touch via mobility. Okay, but now let's flip a little bit to business. Our ability to bring the ecosystem together, and it's not the mobile ecosystem. It is all of the verticals that have mobility either at their core, at the edge, or even the fringes. And now what we're trying to do is show maybe another ecosystem, the convening ecosystem, that it's safe and possible to get back together, to get back together to do business. And it fits very nicely with Connected Impact, obviously, but our sub-tagline, which is back to business, back to Barcelona, and maybe most importantly, back together.
Right. Yeah, and you're really leading the way here as the first major event in Europe, right?
Maybe even a little broader than just Europe.
Yeah.
The world is at different places dealing with the pandemic, with COVID, and so the responses are slightly different. I mean, obviously we went to China in February in Shanghai. We held a very large-scale event, maybe not as large as in the past, but very large scale for today's world, and safe. And we used those learnings and we brought them here. And what we want to do now is export those learnings to the rest of the convening ecosystem and help reopen a very critical component of business.
Right, exactly. The convention and trade show industry has such an impact on each city around the globe. So tell us from your perspective, what are some of the highlights from day one and day two? We're on day 3 here, so.
We're on day 3. So, one of the, I guess, difficulties that come with being the show organizer is you really don't get a chance to see too much, right?
Right.
But I do think that we've explored lots of topics. Obviously, 5G has been kind of at the heart for the last couple of years. It's now moved in to very strong reality. So use cases, results, projections. Where are we going to take this, and where is this going to take us? We had a lot of discussion around AI, of course, IoT, big data. How is data really going to transform the world, and how does it all come together to affect verticals and business around the world? So I think that we then interjected several great discussions on our keynote stages around everything from digital rights to content to the way that the pandemic has impacted companies, and more importantly, how we are going to impact the world going forward. So we've been, I think, really fortunate. We've had a great response virtually as well as in person. And then maybe the culmination so far of the first 2 days was having Mr. Musk, kind of outline where he's trying to have an impact, both here on Earth and then maybe in interstellar space.
Right. So Elon Musk was a keynote speaker yesterday, and he joined virtually.
He did,
right?
yes.
But the interviewer was here on
Correct.
site.
Yeah, Justin Springham from our staff, I think Mobile World Live. Justin did a great job of bringing Elon into our world and then sharing him and his thoughts globally.
Yeah. and I think people can view some of that online, right? Some
Absolutely.
of it's available online.
Very much.
So that brings me to another point. You know, you have an impressive lineup of keynote speakers and educational speakers, as you always have.
Right.
But I was surprised that you had so many, you know, here on site. Elon was virtual, but there were several CEOs and executives of major companies here on site.
So we've had just on our GSMA programs more than 350 speakers, approximately more than 70% of them here in person, with 30% virtually. A little bit different, but we are a broad ecosystem, and right now the pandemic has had an impact that not everyone who wants to participate has been able to participate. Travel is still complicated. And will continue to be complicated. So, we're bringing the best of both worlds. But we add to that more than 150 other speakers from our ecosystem that are drawing their own communities closer by having discussions, keynotes, and frankly roundtables here in person as well as virtually.
Yeah, that's impressive, though. I think that you could get 70% of your speakers to actually be here on site. So that's a pretty good number.
It's a phenomenal number.
Yeah.
I mean,
for CEO level too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, we've always been very senior. That's been one of the, I guess, attributes and strengths of MWC is it is the leadership of the world kind of coming together to discuss, debate, and form our future.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about where Spain is at, just to give people some context a little bit. It's really just emerging from COVID restrictions. You're the second show here at the building at Fiera de Barcelona, and just recently on Saturday, the mask mandates were lifted outside, but they're still required indoors, and the vaccination rate is about 50% here in Spain. So, a little lagging behind some other countries, but certainly it will be impacting the show. So how do you think, COVID will impact your show this year in terms of the numbers, and what are your expectations?
Well, we recognize we could never convene the same kind of ecosystem in terms of numbers or participation that we've had in the past. That was a given a long time ago, just due to the regulations. They are changing. They're changing, and this has been one of the difficulties, is COVID is changing us every day. For the better, I would say, for the better. We have not completely tackled and finished, the COVID era. What we are doing is learning to navigate it, and navigate it successfully, safely and successfully. It's had a big impact on us in terms of preparation, because we're trying to figure out, and we're not health professionals, we're not in the healthcare sector, we don't control it, it controls us, and we're trying to figure out where it will be at some point in time and develop our processes and procedures and new ways of doing just about everything in order to intersect at that point. And it's been complicated.
Yeah.
But successful.
Yeah. And so you have about 1,000 exhibitors, right, on site?
We do.
And then what are before we talked, you were telling me that you thought it'd be about 25 to maybe 35,000. How is attendance tracking? Everybody's asking from my
Everybody's always asking, yeah. And the good news is we don't know the answer until it closes tomorrow at 4. But we're tracking very, very well, and I think that the unknown for us has been sort of the online participation, and we're still tracking that. And it's I think I can probably confidently say we're going to be very, very pleased when we pull all the numbers together. And it's hard to pull them together because they're global, different networks, different platforms, same information, just delivered, the content delivered in many different forms.
Yeah. So exhibitors and attendees need to have a negative test every 72 hours, and the show is 4 days, so most people will have to get tested a couple of times.
Correct.
So how is the on-site testing process working now that it's going?
When we put this together, it had never been, as far as we know, attempted on a scale quite as large as this. in a country, early in the pandemic, testing was a bit variable, at least where you and I come from. It's fairly automated now. So what we had to do is we had to figure out how to replicate something that has quality, control, and confidence. And we interacted very closely, developed our processes in conjunction with our health partner, Cadon, as well as the authorities. And the health authorities guided us, and I think I haven't heard one complaint about the process. It's very it sounds complicated. It's actually quite simple, and it's a time and motion study. It's the ability to move people effectively and efficiently, through a medical procedure, if you will, and then more importantly to allow the health authorities to take over if something is determined to be outside of the normal range.
Yeah, I spoke with the building earlier. Ruben told me there were about 80 stations set up downstairs, and it seems to be moving pretty quickly. You go in, you make a payment for your test if you need to, and then
co-payment.
Co-payment. Oh, and so yes, tell us about that. Are you?
Well, the cost of testing is obviously dramatically reducing, but we chose to absorb part of that as a cost of doing business, and so we wanted to also encourage people to have an active participation financially in the testing process, because it gives them a bit of ownership. It raises the awareness and the importance of testing. We didn't rely on, as we talked last time, we didn't rely on the fact that vaccines are rolling out. I believe you're vaccinated, I'm vaccinated. But many parts of the world still don't have access to the vaccine. So we couldn't make that a condition. It was too early in the process. So what we did is we made it a barrier. We made our bubble, and the bubble was determined not only from participation in MWC, but in order to actually access the community. And that's why it's a community-led program. But when you come on site, we've scaled up, so we have up to 80 stations where people will transverse through. The process is very as automated as possible, a manually automated process, and we're able to move people through the line and get them their test results electronically. We use technology, and in less than 20 minutes.
Yeah, it was very fast. I got an email right away, and it automatically linked to my digital badge and showed that I was verified through the end of today, and I'll take another test tomorrow. There were some lines in the morning on the first day. I noticed, quite a few, but in the afternoon it was.
They move up and down. So I was in line. I was in the queue around 6:30 yesterday evening, and we had a few people waiting. Everyone is trying to plan. You could set your schedule. You could actually select the time, or you could go and walk up. We try to cater to both. And we do automate the process. And then in the interim between tests, we ask each and every one of our attendees to recertify that their health conditions remain the same. So it's a declaration as well as a test. And
so every day on the app, before you can show your digital badge, you have to attest to your health and check it, and then hit submit, and then you can have access to your digital badge. Right?
And then access into MWC.
Into the hall, right, exactly. So will you explain a little bit about the facial recognition, using that as a touchless access control feature? That's not something that a lot of shows in the U.S. do, so tell us about how that's working.
Well, as we envisioned the future several years ago, we believe that entry should be a very simple and easy process. Credential verification, badging, it's a barrier to entry. It's an effective tools, because we do ensure the safety and access control, but we had to take it to a different level. And if we're going to really use automation and technology, facial recognition has some interesting opportunities. So we began trialing it in probably 2017, 2018. We ramped it up in 19. We were going to roll it out pretty extensively in 20. COVID hit. Now we wanted to step back this year and say, Okay, we'll give you two options. We'll give you our digital badge and a QR code. That one's easy. That one's time proven and very simple. But you still have to have an action. And as I said, we're trying to be touchless, and then we rolled out facial recognition. We had a few opportunities for enhancement the first couple of hours. We had to deal with lighting. We had to deal with with some setting issues. But now you can literally walk up, not stop. Obviously, remove your mask, but you don't have to take your mask off. We on our way over here, we did a couple of tests just to see how it's working. I literally had it hanging by my ear. I walk up, I never stopped. I got my green light and proceeded through. I think technology gives us great opportunities for the future. Is it perfect for this use case? Maybe not. But I'd say it's obviously not beta. We're into commercialization, and now let's take it to the next step. And we're not quite sure where that's going to be, but we're out there going to embrace it if it's work. If it's a better mousetrap, we're going to use it.
Have you in 2019? Did you have digital badges, or is this the first year?
No, we've had the opportunity for digital badges probably for about 5 years now. Obviously, the lanyards, the electronics in the badge. Everyone knew them. Everyone loved them. It had your name, your picture on it. But we always had the opportunity to have a digital badge. I think COVID, gave us an opportunity to do a step change. And now no one has a lanyard. No one has any of their credentials on them. I think there's a gap though, because when you see someone, you want to greet them personally. And we haven't quite mastered how we're going to do that, but
going forward.
Yeah, but the digital badge is extremely valuable. It has all of the information. We also have the ability to generate what our businesses need, which is leads. Right. So how do we make that electronic connection? And we must do that within the confines and requirements of data privacy and personal privacy. So it's an ongoing journey, but something that we've definitely moved to the forefront.
Yeah, great. So I saw that the 4 years from now program, it was really bustling on the show floor. There are 380 exhibitors, a lot of international exhibitors as well. How were you able to get so many international exhibitors? And tell us a little bit about moving that from. I understand it wasn't on the main show floor before, but it is now. And so tell us a little bit about that.
Well, a couple of reasons. Before, we never had the space, to be frank. We believe that the startup community is extremely critical to our ecosystem as well as to the world. A lot of innovation comes from the startup community. A lot of great ideas then move through the various stages of development. And then, we always viewed it as sort of the proving ground for launching your new ideas, getting recognition, potentially getting funding, getting mentorship, getting education, interacting with others, sort of sharing your opportunities as well as your tribulations. So we always felt that ecosystem was one that gave us the future, but here today. And we had, I would say, passionate discussions. Should we integrate them into MWC? Should they remain separate? Because, well, we didn't have the space, number one, but maybe they needed their own kind of identity and functionality, their own location to be something a little bit different. This year gave us the opportunity to bring them both together, and I think the success of what we saw and have seen over the last couple days, and we'll see tomorrow, it sort of tells us the answer is, let's put them together. Yeah. We'll deal with how do we do that, from an operational standpoint, but we'll deal with that, beginning next week.
Yeah, it was the area around it was really impressive in terms of the discovery area with the different stages set up and meeting lounges and investor areas. So there was a lot of action going on around there. Yeah.
It was hopping.
Yeah. Definitely.
Is hopping.
So not only do you have keynotes and education, you also have some entertainment. Telco had some entertainment, and that definitely created some buzz, and that was exciting. So, did you work with them? How do you work with exhibitors on? What was your partnership like for that?
Well, obviously with Telco DR this year, but with many in the past, entertainment or hospitality in the evening hours is extremely important. The MWC event is not one that is a 9 to 5 or 9 to 6 kind of an event. It is a 4 times 24. So it actually is now moved to 5. We actually start before the event and kicks off. That ability to get together and network in a slightly different manner and environment is really important. And Telco DR this year sort of had the main headliners. I think they had some great opportunities for people to just kick back and relax and maybe get back to the way things were pre-COVID. Not to the same. We had very strong health and safety rules. We had social distancing. We had masks. Putting all that aside, they got some great entertainment.
They did, and it was a draw. I got a ticket, but then I showed up.
You were lucky.
It was too late.
Oh.
No, because it was already full. They were at capacity.
We were at capacity.
But around it, there were a lot of people wanting to get in.
There were.
Yeah.
There were.
So it was. But it's nice to see entertainment again at events, and not only that, education as well. Briefly, tell us about. I'm not sure if everybody. We didn't talk about this before. The hybrid component of the event. So I've seen you have big screens set up all over, showing streaming the keynotes, and then there's also some online only, and then some in person only, right?
We have very much embraced, not only this year, but historically, and a virtual component. In years past, pre-COVID, we only streamed our keynote sessions. When COVID hit, we disbanded all of our in-person events like the events industry around the world did, but we jumped in very quickly with MWC Thrive, or our Thrive component, which was a virtual way of interacting. We also recognize that the virtual world it has limitations. It's very good at some things and maybe not quite so good at others. And we took last year, 2020, to really learn. We brought together more than 40,000 people from around the world at our various events. When you talk about conferencing or one-to-many kind of discussions, they're easy. You do them at home on your computers or on your phones with all kinds of different forms of technology. We used our Thrive platform. We developed it and then continued to refine it throughout the year to do other things, though. Education. We were also, I think, reasonably successful in what we call networking, basically the interactivity of people one-to-one or even small groups of conversing, not in person but virtually. Where we have not been successful is replicating the show floor. You can have a virtual show floor, you can have some interactions from the show floor. It's still a work in progress. But that gave us then the confidence to come here and say it is a full digital, virtual, and in-person event. And we've seen some tremendous usages of Mobile World Live around the world. So we're bringing opportunities to people that are not able to participate. And I think one of our learnings from last year was that 50% of the people that tuned in, that participated in various Thrive events, had never participated in one of our activities in the past. So we're reaching, new eyeballs. We're reaching new personalities. We're reaching new sectors and participants that have never had the opportunity to be with us before, and that's really thrilling.
Is Thrive, that is a good number, 50%, the net new. Is your hybrid, is it proprietary software, or are you working with an event platform company?
Not an event platform company. It's what we've developed in-house, but we are also working with everyone from LinkedIn to YouTube to some platforms in China and around the world. And as a matter of fact, I was just told that, I'm not going to name them yet because we haven't done the agreement, but another platform, a global platform, wants to take some of our content and distribute it as well. So, you know, it's going mainstream. Mobility is not a sole ecosystem standalone. As I said, the verticals, and we're almost moving MWC a little bit into even the consumer sector. And we are B2B, no doubt, that's our base, but maybe B2B2C a little bit into the future.
Yeah. So here, when the hybrid component is mostly the sessions that are streaming, and the exhibit floor, is that?
Yeah, we have actually the ability to interact with live on the exhibition stands to a virtual component, either through our platform or obviously sometimes through their platform. So we have the ability to interconnect.
Yeah, I saw some exhibitors had like some robots with screens, and you could see virtual attendees or virtual, you know, their virtual their employees virtually talking.
I think COVID has very much shown us that the old way of doing things is great. The new way of doing things is probably some hybrid of the old plus the new, and then some of the undeveloped yet. So we're not done. It's a work in progress.
Yeah. Okay, great. Okay, last question for you. What else are you looking forward to for the next day and a half till the show ends? What's coming up?
So we get a chance now, as things kind of quiet down a little bit, to go around and talk to people. The great news of the last 2 days is we've been extremely busy, you know, just providing all of the content and getting the systems working and just having the show. Now it's a chance to actually go out and experience it. So I'm really looking forward to that. I think we've got a few tours of some of our exhibitors. We also have the opportunity to continue our ministerial program, which is bringing together government leaders, ministers, and decision makers from around the world, both here in person as well as virtually. So I'm going to spend some time over in the ministerial program, helping them sort of chart our future from a regulatory standpoint. And then, of course, Thursday afternoon, it's going to be good to be done.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's going to be good to be done
Safely
and healthily, and then, you know, I always say we're behind in our planning for next year. I can safely say that this year we are very behind because we're going to be back here February 28th of 2022, opening the doors again to MWC, and then in the middle of it all, we'll be in Los Angeles at MWC LA in October. So a lot on the calendar.
So back to work as soon as this is over.
Exactly.
Well, great. Well, congratulations on what so far has been a really successful event.
Thank you, and thank you for coming.
Yeah, thanks for your time, John.
You're welcome.